Every artist at some point of learning of arts has come across the term color theory and found circles with colors in them. In my quest of understanding the colors, I went back to the basics and found two sets of people arguing on the question of what makes primary colors and ended up writing an ebook. On that note, hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sangeeta and today's video after a long time is on color theory. Make sure to watch it till the end. If the video makes sense to you, you can buy a 34-page ebook which explores this subject in more detail and would cost you less than $4. So let's dive into color theory. Color theory, in essence, is a guideline for visual communication, art, graphics, and anything else where aesthetics play a role. Visual creators want their work to be appealing, and knowledge of color theory helps in that. Since colors have been a vital part of our evolution, they are also symbolic and carry meaning depending on culture, country, and other factors. To understand it properly, we need to first ditch the idea of colorful circles for now and look into something more fundamental: light. The relation of light and colors is subtle and necessary to know before we go on color picking. On that note, let's investigate further, which begins with primary colors. By definition, primary colors are fundamental colors which give rise to all other colors human beings can see. On this topic, you will meet two kinds of people. One who argue that red, yellow, and blue make the primary colors, while the others say red, green, and blue are fundamental. So, who is correct? Surprisingly, both of them are correct. The red, yellow, and blue team, or RYB for short, are mostly traditional medium artists. People who use pencil colors, watercolors, oils. You get the idea. The red, green, blue team, or RGB for short, are the ones who create stuffs digitally and define the colors using RGB color models in hex or other notations. But why does this difference exist in the first place? The answer takes us back to Newton's experiment of splitting white light. Newton performed the experiment of passing a white light through a prism, which split it into 7 individual colored lights. Further, when red, green, and blue lights were added together, it produced white light. The same principle is used today on devices, where devices manipulate the RGB colored lights to produce other colors. For traditional medium, light interacts with the pigments and a part of it is absorbed while a part of it is reflected back. This reflected light is the color we see, and universally, red, yellow, and blue pigments interact to produce other colors. So, next time someone asks what are the primary colors, ask back in reference to which medium. This brings us to our next topic: secondary and tertiary colors. Humans can perceive approximately 10 million colors, which of course stem from the combination of primary colors from both the sets. Since we have two sets of primary colors, we are bound to have different sets of secondary colors as well. Let us look at them. Digital first. Pick any two from red, green, and blue lights and combine them at their peak values, which is FF or 255. What you get are secondary colors, which are cyan, magenta, and yellow. Electronic devices are built to be precise, and hence pure cyan, pure magenta, and pure yellow have the same values across devices. Traditional medium is bound by human lack of precision, and hence when any two pigments from the RYB groups are mixed, we get greens, purples, and oranges, which would vary from person to person. Tertiary colors similarly are created by mixing primary-secondary color pairs and then further mixing of generated colors. When all the colors are fitted into a circle, it makes a color wheel. Color wheel on a digital platform is precise, while on a traditional medium we get an estimation and an idea of a range of similar colors. With this knowledge, let's bring in the circles and colors and see how they look. First, a color wheel with only primary colors. Digital medium is on the left, traditional medium is on the right. Second, a color wheel with primary and secondary colors. Digital medium is again on the left, traditional medium is on the right. Third, a color wheel with primary colors, secondary colors, and one tertiary color between each primary-secondary pair. Digital medium is on the left, traditional medium is on the right. A complete color wheel, which is now depicted on the screen, can be available only for digital medium because traditional medium is bound by human lack of precision. Now that we understand why color wheels look the way they do, let us tackle some more jargons. Most of the resources on color theory directly begin with the term additive and subtractive colors without investigating the relationship between light and colors and the difference in color wheels between traditional and digital medium. Let us have a look at the color wheel of the two mediums. On the left, we have the RGB color wheel for digital medium, and on the right, we have RYB color wheel for traditional medium. On electronic devices, the colors are produced by increasing or maintaining light from 0 to higher values. When RGB values are all 0, we have black, and when they are all 255, we have white. So technically, colors exist between these two extremes, and they are produced by adding more light or by adding more values to 0. This is why RGB colors are additive colors. When digital art is made tangible via printers, this process needs to depend upon a set of primary colors which has yellow. CMY or cyan magenta yellow, which can easily pass as red, yellow, and blue when seen in real life, can fit into that need. The printing takes place by masking these colors over each other to get the desired value. The K in CMYK is called key color and it is often black. It is responsible for adding more details to the printed image in terms of contrast and finer lines. This is why CMYK are called subtractive colors, as their usage involves pigments and hence more absorption. Basically, lesser light. Before we get into color scheme, here is an exercise for you. Open any image editing software and produce a color by keeping R, G, and B values the same. Example 155 or 200. What do you get? You get grays. I would encourage you to look into your surrounding and look for grays and how they interact with colors. Another aspect of colors on a digital medium is that they can be increased to white or decreased to black. Remember that color white is RGB values all 25, while black is all zeros. For any chosen color with a certain RGB value, it can transition between black and white. The whiter variations are called as tints, where the darker variations are called as shades. It is achieved by using HSL or HSB color models. In the ebook, I have explored it in more detail and with examples. In my opinion, any explanation of color theory should come at this point when the light, additive colors, subtractive colors, grays, shades, and tints are well understood. From this point on, which color schemes to use would make sense. I would be talking about 3 color schemes here: complementary, analogous, and warm and cold colors. Some more are listed and explained in the ebook. Let us look at the complementary colors first. Complementary colors sit exactly opposite to each other on a color wheel. Their usage brings in stark contrast and hence makes them eye-catchy. Do note that depending on which color wheel you are using, the opposite color may vary. For example, in RGB color wheel, yellow, blue are complementary colors, while in RYB, blue, orange make complementary. Since RGB wheel is more exhaustive and precise, more times yellow wins over orange, though there is no hard and fast rule. Now let us look at analogous colors. These are the neighboring colors from a chosen color. Think of it as belts. These colors set the overall tone of the artwork where they are used. And with this, I come to the final topic for this episode, which is warm and cold colors. Categorizing colors as warm or cold is a result of our evolution with color perception. Hence, without explanation, it would make sense why reds and oranges are perceived as warm colors and blues as cold. Green is trickier that way, and experiences split between the two. With that, this episode on color theory concludes. I hope it was useful. I have explored the topic in much more detail in the ebook Color Theory and Intuitive Guide, which is available on Instamojo, Buy Me a Coffee, and Gumroad. All the links are available in the description. Do read the book and I'll wait for your feedback. I'll see you next time with the next episode in the ongoing series with GIMP. Goodbye and take care.